Project update, not much.
Decisions are going to be the same.
Let me just confirm which training and then. Yeah. Oh, yeah, towards you. Just put that towards you. All right, hold on.
And
I see her. Okay. Sister graduates, what, Thursday?
All right, the time is 6:32. I'd like to call the meeting of June 3rd, Lower Saucon Council to order. Can we have a roll call
Ms. Wright?
here?
Mr. Banonis? Not present. Mr. Thornton? Not present. Ms. Alfaro? Here. Ms. DeLeo? Here.
All right, did either Jason indicate they were calling in or coming late?
No.
I think we have the record reflect that.
Okay. All right,
And just so we're clear, we have a quorum, we have 3 out of 5 members, which means we can move forward with the meeting.
do the extras, I guess nobody asked was
every fucking day,
the solicitor and,
every fucking time.
okay. Can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we did not meet in executive session. The public comment procedure, and I'll just briefly go over it. It's 3-minute period at the beginning of the meeting here, where you can talk on any agenda items. You can come up to the podium, state your name, address your comments to council. And then there's an additional 3-minute period towards the end of the meeting where it would be agenda or non-agenda items, and the same process: come up to the podium, state your name, and then you have 3 minutes. Let's see, so item 3, we have no presentations or hearing tonight, and we have no developer items. Get my papers caught up here. Okay, I'm almost ready now. Okay, all right, so do we have people for public comment?
Do you want this?
No, what is it?
Yeah, just leave it there. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Dave Boulan. Is this on?
Should be on.
I can't tell.
That's how it's on the bottom. No, it's on.
I just turned it on.
Oh, there you go. Is it good?
Thank you, you weren't attacking me either. Oh, can you restart me? It's pretty good. Yes, it's a very light agenda tonight, and I'm pleased to see that. It'd be nice if you were to spread it out as a council who does their homework and plans appropriately. Unfortunately, I do see there's an item here that really bothers me, and it goes along with what you just said about we get 3 minutes. Well, last week, that 3 minutes was for a 7-hour meeting, so I find that way insufficient, and I want the public to know that. Now, what we're seeing now is that we have this agenda item here, which is called 1-2025 regarding agenda items. And I look at this as being blatant. As a matter of fact, it really isn't a blatant attempt to really shut down the taxpayer and what he has to say. And I'll detail how this works. Know that for years, for decades, the agendas have always been the same. Everything has been on it. People have been able to speak to it. There was no discussion about what went on the agenda for the most part. It was decided by the manager with some input, right? That's not going to be the case now. Items submitted now will be, we're going to have an agenda that's going to be 9 days before the meeting. Well, that doesn't do you much good, as a matter of fact, because the bottom line is if something pops up in between that's exceedingly important, it can now be put on by the manager. I trust this manager, Jay, I trust you, but I don't trust the fact that it will be done in conjunction with the president of the council, okay? So these are really unnecessary items I can see once in a while, no different than if there needs to be a legal meeting about something. But the rest of this is really another attempt, at least in my opinion, not to put things on the agenda so people don't turn out, and you put them on at the last minute and say, oh, well, this is really important. And who makes that decision? The majority, without the input from the minority. So I find this really absolutely gross. It's another way to shut people down. In short, folks, the taxpayer is being told to shut up, and we're going to do whatever we want. We have the majority, and that's the end of that. We're going to make our own. And there's Priscilla with her little white one. See, isn't that nice? That's who she really is, and that's who the Democrats really are. They really hate the public, and they don't want you to talk out. I'm not running for office.
Okay, do we have somebody else?
No, go ahead. Oh, thanks. Don't be mad when I'm done.
Hunter Gress, Western Gosh Road. I'd like to start out saying I hate taxes as much as I think any other resident or taxpayer. But when I see on our agenda discussion or possible action to remove the fire tax at a time when the fire department, not just our fire department locally, but nationwide fire departments are struggling to get funding, to get the equipment and apparatus they need. The fact that a council for a township, mind you, you guys are responsible for providing fire protective services to the residents here, is going to think about even think about cutting that funding, I think is egregious and unacceptable. And I hope you guys reconsider or remove that item from the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. So, next.
Marco Zemeck. 2 or 3 things. I think when you make the agenda and somebody comes up with an idea, you should put their name behind it so that while we're at home, we know who asked to have that put on the agenda. Because I'd really like to know who came up with the discussion and possible action to eliminate the fire tax. The township has been running pretty good for many years, even got money in the bank. So why you would attempt to do something like this is beyond me. Agenda item request. What I read at home before I came here was that all items now have to be in the Monday a week before the meeting. Is that correct? So I guess if the prior speaker would have read that, he would know that. Approval of additional compensation for financial clerk. Well, you just hired a financial clerk and you made a deal with them when you hired them. Why now, less than a month later, you're talking about additional compensation for the financial clerk? I also find that unacceptable. First off, you got to let them work for 6 months or a year to find out if they're worth it, if they actually earn their keep.
Mark, I'll correct you here. It's the finance clerk that's been here for 3 years, not the director that we're hiring. It's 2 different people.
Okay.
I thought the same thing when I read it too.
Do we need better explanations? Oh, appointments to Fire Service Committee. Anyway, that's all I got. That's what concerned me.
Good luck, have a nice night, folks.
All right, do we have any other public comment?
Anne Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. I just wanted to comment on most likely the first item on the agenda, 5A. I was on my way here and I heard a brilliant comment on the radio that I wanted to relay to everybody. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan, who's a pretty smart, intelligent man, he started talking about what's going on in our country, what's going on in the world, and how we have to just be a little safer with our decisions that we make, think a little bit harder about what we're doing in the government, which I can't agree more with him. He said something really funny. He said, with all the regulations that we have, he's like, I think we should start calling it blue tape, not red tape, because the Democrats love regulation. And he said he feels that the Democrats actually really want to make sure that people don't succeed in getting things done, and that's why there's so much bureaucracy. It's almost impossible for people to overcome that. So as I'm here and we bring people up to the podium to talk about zoning issues and other issues in the township, including the landfill, including the cell phone tower, including cutting trees down on your property, or expanding your property, or building on your property. I saw that the zoning officer, I think in the paperwork I saw, was that he was recommending that you do not approve, or the zoning board doesn't approve the situation with 5A on the property, and an expansion of the property, or building on the property. And I just want to say, we don't want to be the township that is so much regulation that you can't get anything done here. Or there's so much regulation that we drive businesses away, and we drive residents away. And I just want to make sure that the taxpayers of this township know how this council runs, what their agenda is, what their ideas are. That I think it's all time for everybody to grow up and realize what's really going on in the world, and make it a little bit easier for things to happen instead of making it harder. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing nobody, I will start then on item 5A. This is the zoning hearing board application number variant 05-25 for tech at 3227 Apples Church Road. The applicant's requesting a variance to seek relief from sections 180-91 to allow for construction of a second primary dwelling unit. The property is at 3227 Apples Church Road, Bethlehem. Who do we want to speak on this first?
We might want to check. Is there anyone here on behalf of the applicant? Is there anything, if you want to, is there anything you'd like to say? If so, you can come forward and say.
Are you talking about the public?
No, I'm talking about the applicant.
I'm Vanessa Keck. I own the property at 3227. I bought the property from my grandmother 5 years ago, I believe. It was my mom's mother that owned the property. We moved into the property before that to help pay for my grandmother's nursing home stay when she got dementia, so that we could help out with bills and stuff like that. Now, my mom is widowed for 3 years, going on 4 years from my dad, so she lives alone. And I have 2 children. My mom is one of the main caregivers for my children. She helps get them back and forth to school. Essentially, my mom's going to be moving back home and I'll be able to help care for her, and when she gets older, she will be 70 this year. She's still in great health.
Would you mind if I interrupt you?
No, not at all.
I believe what you're asking for the zoning hearing board is you have one house on the property right now, correct?
Correct.
And I think what you're asking for is you're asking to build a second house on that property, correct? And you understand that to do that, you have to go and ask for some relief from the zoning hearing board.
Right.
And normally, you may or may not be familiar with this, but normally when you have more than one use or more than one house, you have to subdivide your property, meaning split it. And then you can have one house on one property, one house on the other.
Okay.
I'm telling you that that's.
No, that's okay.
That's the way it's normally done, but you're asking the zoning hearing board to do it in a different way. Do you?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And I know you don't have an attorney for this, right?
No.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I was
that's
trying to
fine.
point out what you're asking for.
Okay, that's fine, I appreciate it.
Is that fair?
Yes,
what I said?
absolutely.
Okay. And that house, that second house, has not yet been built yet.
No,
But you're proposing that if you get the relief, you could build the second house.
correct.
Is there anything else you want to tell us? I don't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And if I may, you saw in the packet the reference from the zoning officer who indicated that generally under these circumstances, this is something that would not be provided under these circumstances. Normally, you do not have two primary uses on one property. It doesn't mean that the applicant can't do this in a different way or potentially do it a different way by, for example, subdividing their property. The way it's normally done is you would then split the property in one or two or three, split it two at least, and then have two separate lots. And there's a process which you then go in front of the planning commission, you file plans and so on. I certainly understand, I think we all understand what the applicant is doing and are sympathetic to that, without question. But the concern is that this is very unorthodox from what we would normally do, and it's not the way things are done. It also sets a very dangerous precedent, even though this is a very sympathetic case, and clearly, it sounds like everyone has the family's best interest at heart. Whenever this happens, if it happens, there's always the question of how you police it later, what happens when people sell the property, is this the first time we want to do this, because then it'll happen frequently. Who's to stop the next developer, not when it's nice people like this, but when it's somebody else, or some big development where they want to do a whole bunch of things that are never permitted to do. So my recommendation is similar to the zoning officer, although I'm very sympathetic, and there might be another way for the techs to get the relief they want. Unfortunately, I would recommend that the Township Council suggest opposing this and letting the zoning hearing board know of the opposition, and if possible, separately, having somebody from the township, we can do that motion, but then separately have somebody from the township reach out to the techs and give them their other options as to how they might want to do this. But that's up to the Township Council.
Okay, so, yeah, I would pretty much say the same type of statement. So this isn't a new zoning change that was put in. This has been in our zoning like forever, not having two uses on one property for many different reasons. And I understand and sympathize as well. I do think you may have some options though, just because of the size of your property, that you probably might be able to go down the route of subdividing it and making it officially two lots and doing it that way. So definitely contact the zoning officer and get some advice. But I will have to make the motion to authorize our solicitor to send a letter to the zoning hearing board setting forth council's opposition to the variance request for the Keck variance on 3227 Apples Church Road for the reasons, including the fact that it would set a dangerous precedence moving forward.
I'll second that, but I have some comments.
Well, go ahead and make your comments.
I'm also very sympathetic to your case, but I also heard what the solicitor said, and I'm in favor of the opposition. But I also, following up what Laura just said, that you do have options, so you can still accomplish this by subdividing your property. And I have a question for the solicitor. Financially, they're at this part of the application process to go to the zoning hearing board. If they continue, there's going to be more, I'm trying to save them money.
So in anticipation of your question, I think what we can do is we can look at how far along they are, whether or not advertising took place, and so on and so forth. So if the Kecks decide at some point to say we don't want to go forward, we can then see what it is they paid and what they haven't paid and work on that.
Okay. Has it been assigned to the zoning hearing board yet? Like, when's the next meeting? I don't know.
It's June 23rd.
June?
No, I just know the date.
So it would have been advertised?
That's something we can look at, is the short answer.
Okay, all right. I'm just, I don't know if you like me. Okay.
So we received the email yesterday that we need to appear.
You've got to come up to the mic.
We received an email yesterday that we need to be here today. We've already sent out the email or the letters today for all the neighboring 200 feet perimeter of the residence. We sent that out today.
Then I think the question that was being asked, and you might not know the answers. One of the requirements is that we have to advertise the hearing.
Yes,
which is being
that
discussed.
has also
It's
been
just
sent out today.
Okay.
It's to,
So perhaps what we can do, if we're ready,
So
The first advertisement has to be in the morning call by June 9th.
so it's probably not it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can just be recognized, I would also like to see if there's any way we can save the money to help them try to apply it toward like the appropriate land development avenue that would, be subdividing, and hopefully the township staff can help guide you through that to save you on costs as much as possible, because I would love to see you be able to bring your family together on one connected two parcels. It's just that because you're not dividing it and you're trying to put two houses on one lot, it creates two uses, and that's the issue that's in conflict with our zoning ordinance. But it may be able to be done in another way to accomplish what you're wanting. So I would love to try and save the money if we can.
Do you have public water and sewer there, or is that private?
No, it's
I'm sorry. I'm the contractor.
I'm sorry, sir, could you state your name so we have?
It's Adam Schwab, SCHWAB. I'm just confused about this project because everybody else is talking about a house being built. I mean, it's an addition, which it's detached addition, which is an accessory structure. And it's very, very common throughout every municipality around here that people are able to put in detached additions or accessory structures on the property for other dwelling, for a family member to live on, that cannot be leased, that cannot be rented out to additional people, and it's stated in the deed. And I'm just confused that we're looking at this as being a second home that wants to be built. They don't want a second address, they don't want separate utilities, they just want a detached accessory structure for their mother to live in. So I'm just confused on how we're wording this and we're approaching the situation. I think we're thinking about two different worlds.
In fact, if you wanted to answer, under these circumstances, it is considered a separate primary use under the zoning ordinance, under our zoning ordinance, so it's not permitted. And that's the determination of the zoning officer. What I'm suggesting to the Keck family is perhaps if Township Council votes the way they may vote, you may want to then schedule a meeting with the zoning officer to see what other alternatives are. Maybe an alternative is to have it attached somehow. Maybe there's another alternative for you. We just don't want you to spend good money after bad. That's where we are. So I mean, you can tell from council they're sympathizing with your situation, but we also have our rules.
Okay. No, I just want to make it clear that it wasn't like a separate house, is what we're calling it, just because people hear separate house. And I think it's like, okay, they're building a whole additional home, even know that it's, it's not detached, it's a small structure, a very small structure with a small garage. So it's not like they're putting up a two-story second home, just for everybody else who's listening, that we're under the same,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You're looking at that map, in the corner it says house, and then above that it says new addition, and they're not attached.
All right, well, I could have labeled it accessory structure, so I apologize. It just, we talked about it being an addition, a new addition, and you're right, it's not added to the house, so it should have been labeled as an accessory structure. But, you know, again, it just, we think of mother-in-law additions and mother-in-law suites and in-law suites and all those. So instead of doing that, I just put it just a new addition, but you're right, it should have been, the verbiage could have been corrected to an accessory structure or a detached addition, however you guys would like to word it.
And then it says new driveway, so where would the other driveway be?
The other driveway is just, it's a pull-off right there on whatever, was that side street? Wright's Lane. It's just, they have a pull-off where they have like 4 parking spots.
Like a little private paper street type thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, they turn right into it.
there's three other houses on
They
it.
use that same,
And then, again, you know, we're looking for options. You know, the biggest thing was to have the mother be on that property. So if there was options, we'd be, you know, we would love to listen to those. You know, does she have to have her own driveway or her own?
Yeah. Did you discuss with the zoning
We sat with the zoning
officer?
officer, and he told us that the first approach and asking for the variance and understanding the ordinance and coming here, he thought it was worth a shot coming in front of you guys and talking about this because of the size of the lot and what we want to do, and it being the, you know, in-law suite basically for her mother. So he thought our best option was coming here first and talking with you guys. Not sure, but yeah, the zoning officer basically. This was the first method was doing this.
So I think if we're ready, then we should take a vote, and then we can have a subsequent conversation about what their next steps may be.
Okay, you're done with your comments, Victoria? All right.
I am.
All right, so can we have a roll call?
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Rivera?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeo?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
And before we move on to the next agenda, Ms. Canon, your next step is either you go in front of the zoning hearing board for your actual hearing. They're the decision makers, we are not. You have a right to do that, and you have an absolute right to do it. If you choose not to do that, and you want to at least put the brakes on the process, I would suggest that you contact our zoning officer or call us tomorrow to see if we can stop whatever costs there are that have taken place so far. Like if we can stop the advertising cost, you want to take it off the zoning hearing list for a period of time to talk to the zoning officer to see what your other options are, you can do that. You don't have to make that decision today, and I'm not asking you to make that decision.
When is the zoning meeting?
Zoning meeting is June
So it's the
23rd.
same day as the variance meeting that we're.
No, that's the same thing. That's one and the same thing.
So that's what we're already scheduled to be present for.
You
So
want,
that's 23rd.
If you don't
and
do it.
if you want to, what I recommend you do is call the zoning officer tomorrow, see what costs have been expended, because if they haven't expended, you might make a decision, and it's totally up to you. Make a decision to say, hold off on everything, and let's talk, and maybe there's another way to do it. But if you want to go forward with the zoning hearing board, that's your absolute right, you can do that. But I just want you to be aware of that, okay?
can I add something? I say if that's the road you choose to go to the zoning hearing board, they have rules to follow too, and similar to ours, so, you know what I'm saying, like, you're, I don't know how to say it, but
So
you're gambling with that.
unfortunately, hardship isn't like how regular people call a hardship, you know, like taking care of your family member. It's a legal definition, so it can't be a financial type hardship. So unfortunately, that's how zoning works.
Yeah, it's
in
probably
the
the
whole
first,
state.
it's probably the first meeting I've been at that somebody said that. And I've been in a lot of zoning and variance meetings, so, well, appreciate your time. Thank you guys.
The municipal's planning
Yeah.
code,
Thank you.
the municipal's planning code explains it in detail.
Yeah, no, we see it. You're the black and white. I appreciate it.
Well, good luck.
We don't understand.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, well, was 5B, discussion and possible action to eliminate the fire tax. And
Can I be recognized?
I would make a motion to just remove this because none of us requested this.
And I'd like to add to, I'll second that if that's the motion.
Motion to remove this item.
Can I just add, it's a And as a suggestion,
Well, I'm thinking the same thing you are. My second would be that Mr. Banonis put this on the agenda.
oh,
So-
well, that's accurate, can I request that we amend the motion that we take it off, but also that it may not be put back on? Because otherwise it's just gonna turn up again, and I think it's an inappropriate
I'll
item
amend
to be placed. But I think Laura made the motion to take it off, so maybe to take it off.
Amend my motion to not have this come back because here it had its shot to be on the agenda for discussion,
He didn't even come to the meeting.
and they didn't come, so.
So the,
I'll amend my second too,
Okay,
all of hers.
so is the motion to take it off and to not be placed back on, is that
go
what
back
it's
on
at?
again, because it's pretty ridiculous. All right, can we have a roll call? Or do we?
There,
Yes.
Ms. De Leon,
Yes,
Ms. Ray.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Next item, 5C, is adoption of policy 1-2025. Council will consider adoption of policy 01-2025, the Lower Saucon Township policy regarding agenda items. Victoria, I'll let you start on this topic. This was your request.
Yeah, thank you. I asked for this to be placed on the agenda because I wanted to provide some clarity for the public. A lot of times at our council meetings, we hear accusations that the majorities is adjusting the agenda, the majority is pulling things from the agenda, putting things on the agenda. We're dictating to the manager what happens and where it happens and how it happens, and there's a lot of interrogation to our staff that I feel is inappropriate and a distraction from getting our township business done. And so by providing this policy, I'm hopeful to provide transparency to the public in understanding how an agenda is created. The manager is the one that decides what's on the agenda based upon mostly input from the staff. And that includes our solicitor, our engineer, people that present developer items or presentations from other interested people in the community. Certainly council members have the ability to place items on the agenda. This does not prevent any council member from putting an item on the agenda. There was a policy in the past in which 2 members of council had to consent before an item could be on the agenda. And that was concerning because it would strip away any individual council member's elected right to represent the constituents. So currently, any council member can place any item on the agenda, and that happens. But what also happens is our staff ends up running around at the last minute trying to add things to the agenda. At a last minute, there's not documentation to back it up, and sometimes it overloads our agenda. I heard even tonight, some people comment that tonight's agenda is lopsidedly small comparative to last agenda. And I can share with you that there were at least 4 items placed on last time's agenda that were not staff member requests. They were from 1 member of council, all 4 items. And then there was an argument, and from my perspective, an inappropriate interrogation of our manager as to why things were certain locations and why did he do that, and insinuating that it was somehow somebody on council directing him and pulling his strings and using him as a puppet. And this way, everybody can understand how an agenda is created. It's created by the manager. If a council member wants to place an item on the agenda, they have a deadline by which they would need to do that. If an emergency item needs to come on by the sole discretion of the manager, the solicitor, or the engineer, the staff, without council's influence, has the independent right to add things to the agenda. And ultimately, it gives the manager the ultimate right to decide what goes on an agenda and not on an agenda for the purpose of making sure our council meetings run smoothly, that we're not here forever, and in consideration with whatever other items that they need to address. So this way, it makes clear that we're not influencing our manager and causing some of the concern that the public has raised to us. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda policy as identified as policy 01-2025 as a resolution. To the extent that is a conflict between the adoption of the policy and any other resolution, the provisions of the adoption policy shall control. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Priscilla, do you want to make comments?
Yes, I do. I would like to say that this policy, really, the administrative code states the manager's duties. It's online, you're more than welcome to go look it up. And this has not changed since the 70s when our rules were adopted, so. That's what I'd like to say. And when we're finished this agenda item, don't go on to the next one because I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll just make a couple comments as well. So the 9 days in advance to have a council member requesting really isn't crazy. I'll say Kathy actually wanted it to be 2 weeks notice before the meeting because she said it just gets chaotic in the office with all these things coming in at the last minute and trying to figure out what documentation and trying to get everything accurate and in order. So it's really not that out of hand. If you don't know the topic within that time length, well then it's probably not that critical and it can wait till the next meeting. What's my other thought here? Well, that's all I'll say on this one. So can we have a roll call?
Ms. DeLeo?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Saucon?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, my question is, before we go on, did we ever vote on the motion for the zoning hearing board app?
Yeah, we did.
We did. Okay, because I just want to make sure that if they proceed to the zoning hearing board, they're going to get a letter. So, okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah, I think we did that right before they had all the additional conversation. Okay, next item is 5D. This is the approval of the additional compensation for the finance clerk. So, as I mentioned before, the finance clerk is actually Aaron, who's been here for 3 years, and not the new person that was coming in as the finance director. So administration is requesting additional compensation for the finance clerk for duties performed from January 15th, 2025 through May 16th, 2025. I'll make the motion to approve the MOU for the additional compensation in the amount of $1,200 for the finance clerk for duties performed from January 15th through May 16th, 2025. The MOU has been reviewed and approved by Kurt Bettler, who is the president of Lower Saucon Township Non-Uniform Employees Association.
I'll second that.
All right. Priscilla, do you have comments?
No, I'm pretty comfortable with that.
All right. Victoria?
And just for clarification, that the finance clerk took on additional responsibilities during this time and has not received compensation to reflect her dedication and the work that she had done. So this is to compensate her for work that's already been done, not for future work that is yet to be done.
Correct. And I'll also add that because she is in the non-uniform union, it had to get special approval, so that's why this MOU was needed. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Saucon?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeo?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
5E is Resolution 53, 2025, appointments to the Fire Services Executive Committee. The manager, we did receive applications and they were all reviewed. I am going to make a motion though to recommend, let me get my names here. I'm going to make a motion to recommend Craig Baer and James Gress to the executive committee.
I'll second that.
Before we have any discussion, is it a recommendation or is it the actual appointments that we, the council appoints? So you'd be making the appointments.
So I should reword my motion? Okay. I'll make the recommendation, that we appoint.
No, you just appoint. Like, don't say recommendation.
Okay, sorry. I'll get it. Try 3. All right, so I make the motion that we appoint Craig Baer and James Gress as the 2 resident members on the Fire Service Executive Committee.
I'll amend my second.
Priscilla, do you want to make comments?
No comments.
No comment? Okay, Victoria?
I just want to thank, I did have the opportunity to check all of the applications. I want to thank the community. We did have 5 people apply for the position, and I'm very excited to move forward. The people that I seconded, I think are going to be an excellent addition.
Okay, yeah, and I agree. There's a lot of years of experience with these people that are going to join our committee, so I look forward to working with them. We have a roll call?
Ms. Asha?
Yes.
Ms. Danielle?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. 5F is the approval to purchase 10 arborvitae green giants. This would be for use at the Eastern Road Ballpark, to help with the lighting issue with the neighboring properties. Some of the arborvitaes that were already ordered, I think there was only 10 of them that went in before, and they only cover a certain amount of space, so it really wasn't enough, so we needed some more. So we want to, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of additional arborvitae green giants for the Eastern Road Ball Field at a cost not to exceed $5,500.
I'll second that.
Okay, do you want to make comments, Priscilla?
No, I think that this helps the neighbors across the private drive. I'm all in favor of this, so yes.
Do you have any comments, Victoria?
I'm just happy to hopefully provide some screening, and I appreciate the manager going out and checking that out to make sure we can accommodate the ball players and the residents next door.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad that we can do this as well. I really hope it helps. I hope they grow fast, because I know the lights are extremely bright, because I did go over there at night to see how it does affect the neighbors. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. Celia? Yes. Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Alcantara?
Yes.
Motion passes 0.
All right, let's see. We're all the way at council and staff reports. Jay, do you have some reports?
Yes, thank you. I have about 5 hours worth of reports here, so if you would leave at the normal and customary time.
That you have what?
5 hours worth of reports.
Where's your contact?
I do have a plane to catch in the morning. I was
Oh,
hoping to go
okay.
right from here to
This
there, but
worked
that's
out
okay.
perfectly then.
Just, the pool opens on Saturday, June 7th. It's been pretty busy around here this week with residents coming in to pick up their pool passes. We've put out information relative to the fact that the Hellertown Area Library Board of Trustees has an opening that will finish the remainder of a term that will expire at the end of this year. And any candidates should send their information over to the director, Ally, at the library. We've sent out multiple closure informations relative to the UGI pipeline construction on Ringhofer Road and Easton Road. Ringhofer Road will begin June 4th and end on June 20th. There's going to be 24-hour closures through the traffic in this area. There will be traffic control individuals there to make sure that the residents can get into their properties and such. And then Easton Road will close nightly from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Sundays through Fridays, and that's going to be June 18th through July 31st. Again, it's been sent out on social media and the traffic control individuals.
Can I ask a question on that? Does that affect how, can they get to the ballpark then?
Yep,
They can,
they'll be able
okay.
to get in, access to the ballpark, the church, the businesses that are there. They're going to have to make arrangements for that to happen. As Victoria mentioned at the last meeting, Paul Miller's law goes into effect starting June 5th, which is the use of cell phones in motor vehicles. And we also sent out notification that PPL needs to have access and close down the Saucon rail trail to get to one of their high tension wires. And that will be sometime during June and July. And the trail areas that's effective is Meadows Road to Old Mill Road. And they will also have individuals out there directing the public. And the final thing would be the pickleball courts up at Oak Valley Park. Should be done this week, but we will have a ribbon cutting June 10th at 12 noon at the park, and everyone's welcome to attend. I would say that 95% of the work is been done by Township staff, and they look really good as it's progressed through
What time is it? The 10th, you said?
the 10th at noon.
At noon, okay.
That's all I have.
Hours to spare.
Come on, we're gonna break the record. The seventh meeting will be over at 7:30.
All right, well, Priscilla, you can be next up.
I just attended the HOW meeting last week. It was a short 2 weeks between the meetings, so that was my schedule. That's all I have.
Victoria?
Thanks. I want to reiterate, I think, Jay, do we have the information of our council liaison or representative on how she sends us very, very nice reports sharing with us all the information, like the book sale for HAL that's coming up, I think this weekend, in fact, and then all of their summer activities, all that. And I think that we have like some location, a homepage for library information, but I just maybe hopeful that tell the residents to look at what's available at HAL. There's a lot going on, and I would like our township to make sure that we also publicize that in a prominent way on our website so that people can also see from our side what's going on. I think it's wonderful that we're also having pool memberships come through. That was something that we were able to streamline for this year, so residents can come to the township and get their pool pass for the summer at Hellertown Pool. They also have the opportunity to get, I think, a partial reimbursement for other nonprofit pools
I know some people go to Southern Lehigh Pool. So I just want to thank the staff for doing that. On a somber note, I feel it's appropriate to mention that we have had a terrible anti-Semitic vandalism done on the Saucon Valley Rail Trail to the Wagner-Hallam farmstead sign that's in Lower Saucon Township. It occurred sometime last week. It's absolutely disgusting, and to whoever did that, know that our police are working hard to find you and hold you accountable for what happened. It may have been somebody thinking it's a silly joke, but that is never a joke to do something like that. It wasn't, if it was meant to do something against the people that live around there. That sign was purchased by the township, and so now the township has it covered, and we are in the process of replacing or getting covers that would basically show what was used to be there, so that it would be returned to basically its state before the vandalism. However, that's now taxpayer dollars that have to be shelled out to fix something that should have never happened to begin with. So I am extremely sorry to the community that they had to see this on the rail trail. They may have seen, I think it was a couple days, there were some very good Samaritans that saw this and were trying to clean it up. I want to thank our Public Works Department and our Police Department for responding quickly to investigate this, and to our staff for trying to, order the replacement placards as soon as possible. But I think it's important to note so that the community understands we still have this problem, and that we have to do all that we can to fight anti-Semitic rhetoric or any other inflammatory and derogatory vandalism that happens in our community. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yes, so that was one thing I was going to mention. I figured you would probably mention it though. Yeah, it's a shame that people do things like that and destroy our public property, and something that thousands of people enjoy, that rail trail, and somebody has to do something like that. It's just not acceptable. So if by chance anybody has any leads or saw anybody suspicious or know anything about somebody running around with spray paint on the rail trail, gold spray paint, I don't know the exact date though, but it happened. Please contact the police and let them know. The only other item I have though is regarding EAC did their annual, semi-annual I should say, we do it twice a year, road cleanup on Reading Drive. That was done last Friday between all the rainstorms. They sounded like they got a fair amount of trash that they picked up, which is surprising because it's a little hard to see some of it now that all the green weeds are up all over the place, but they collected, I think, 5 bags. And unfortunately, one of our lovely council members drove by and had us yell something nasty to one of the cleanup crew members, so that was really uncalled for. And I will say, I saw Kathy Pitchell did a road cleanup on Lower Saucon Road, which is near where she lives, and she filled up a whole back of a 4-wheeler that she uses with trash, and it was just cleaned up not too long ago. So there is like an excessive amount of trash being thrown, and I don't know what we can do personally as residents. I chase people when I see them do that, so it's like I don't know if we have anybody ever getting caught for littering out their car windows, but it's like there's so much garbage along our roads, and it's another sad thing to see. I go up and down my road area and can fill, like a 40-pound bag of trash with no problem, and it's like just a small area. So, I don't know, disrespectful people throwing trash, it's sad. So that's all I have. Steve, do you have a report?
I do not.
We don't have our engineer tonight. Public comment for agenda or non-agenda? Anybody wants?
Good evening, my name is Mary Ann Garber and I represent the Bethlehem landfill. And I just wanted to make a comment actually on the motion with respect to removing the elimination of the fire tax and how that reconciles with the policy with respect to giving the manager absolute discretion on what to put on the agenda. Because as I heard the motion, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was a motion to remove the discussion and possible action to eliminate the fire tax, I think because the council member who asked that it be put on wasn't here, presumably. But then the motion included and for it to not be put back on a future agenda item, which doesn't seem to, I don't know how to reconcile that with the policy that was just adopted that says that it's the township manager that has absolute discretion on whether something gets on the agenda or not. So the motion seems to prohibit that particular item being put on a future agenda. My client doesn't have any particular interest, I guess, in the fire tax one way or the other, but I do want to understand the policy going forward. So to the extent there's an agenda item that may impact my client, if it is voted to be removed from the agenda and the manager is not directed to put it on a future agenda, how does that reconcile with the new policy? Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Louder. Mr. Finnegan, did you get any kind of reports from the DEP regarding the swing property?
We are waiting. No, I am not. There is a meeting to be scheduled between the zoning officer, DEP, and the property owner, and the date has not been established yet.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the zoning officer should have been here tonight. It was a small agenda. He only had one item, and I think he should have been here to talk to the folks that were here, even though it got pushed on to the zoning hearing board. But I still think that a zoning officer should be here to represent for questions for the taxpayers. That's my opinion. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I will,
Sorry, it took me so long. I just want to comment on a comment that was just made about the way that things were voted on tonight. And I do have a little bit of an issue with the comment of, let's take it off the agenda and make sure it never goes back on again. You know, that's again like saying, you know, not only do we not want to hear opposition, but we're never going to allow it to be spoken in the room. And I think that that's what people really need to understand. Really what's going on with this group is that now you're making it like a 9-day, like, oh, you know, we're going to set it, like, again, you guys set the standard, you decide what the standard is, you decide what the ethics are, these are the standards, this is what we're doing. You know, nobody can put a thing on agenda at the last minute or 2 days prior or whatever and leave it up to the township manager. Now you guys are going to control everything. You control. I hope all the voters out there know that. They do, some of them do actually. But you know, you have to understand that this is a democracy a little bit, and you are going to hear opposition no matter how much you hate it. And I also want to say, for how you know, inappropriate it is, I'm going to say it. Some of the things that you ladies just complained about, you vote for. So think about who you're voting for in the national, county, local politics. Think about who you're voting for and what they stand for. Priscilla, You're so funny when you put those faces on, that you have no idea what I'm talking about, and you do, because you're the one who protested down in Howardtown with a group. Think about it, you know what I'm talking about. Somebody can look it up in the paper or Facebook, it's all over the place.
For your information.
Thank you.
I was a bystander, I was not part of that. I was there because I wanted to see what was going on, as I have every right to do. And you don't believe me, that's your prerogative. I don't believe everything that comes out of your
Well, you know
mouth
what, the
either.
same people that are in that group might be vandalizing. The same people, you might want to think about it.
I'm not in that group.
People know what's going on in this country, it's a problem. And by the way, and
I
also,
was not there for that.
and also, by the way, if you're worried about people throwing garbage out of their car windows, what are you gonna do when the landfill closes? You're so upset about garbage being thrown out. Yeah, it stinks, people are slobs, sorry, thanks.
All right, I'll make the motion. Oh. Gotta run faster.
I'm not gonna reply to that comment. Buzemek. I'm here. And as for the last two speakers on the agenda is required or requested to be in 9 days before, Monday before the next week's council meeting. So all the two people did was take and twist the words of what was referenced in the rules or the request. So yeah, you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention to who you vote for, because I voted for the guy who did all of the opposite and crept all over the township. So please pay attention to who you vote for, on all sides. Anyway, pay attention. That's the whole clue.
All right. Anybody else? All right, I will make the motion to adjourn. The time is 7:34.
Second.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Yep. Makes the record.
Damn, I'm ready to get. Didn't get what? For the fire thing. I know it's we got to get it.
One day ago, they say you gotta run 3 or 4 times to go away. From here. It's nice though, that I should run my fishing rod over at the fishing pond right there. Daylight's still a meeting ended, I don't expect that. It ran very efficiently.
They do have a
I would record correctly. Yeah. I'll hang out over here. All right, thanks. No problem.
I don't think anyone, wants to land a huge fan as I said this year, but I understand where they're coming from. I don't agree with you, but I understand what the excuse is. I can look at that and see what I think, because I think it's wrong.
I'm gonna say 5 states.
Came over today.
I know we had one that was.
Frank Schwartz from Longport.
Yeah.
Nuclear waste.
Yeah, it's really close for you. I got some separation.
Because my partner's in a tech degree. So he goes, I go tech report. Vice versa.
I'm not an environmental engineer.
I just think it's a word. I don't think that's what you said.
I know, I was out in that river today, the Lehigh there.
This one
I was down by
has so
30
many
feet, I wasn't up there.
You have the same one.
I was out there, just the amount of garbage.
This is your red,
People
white.
being fucking swallowed, it's ridiculous. We don't even
And
have
also
garbage close to that river.
But with it being
Tires? Oh, yeah, your house. But there's gotta be people that dump tires in there, because I've gone down there before, in the park. Oh, yeah. But you go down there in the winter when there's no vegetation, and you see tires everywhere underneath the water. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. People don't care. And then, you know, she wants to comment about what are you gonna do when the dump closes? Well, people don't use the dump now.
Yeah, I was just saying, probably the same thing we've been doing.
Huh?
Same thing we've been doing.
Oh, yeah.
Putting it on a rail car, putting it in a truck, and sending it to another landfill.
The guy tried to take the hot tub down to the scrapyard, and then
They are hard to get rid of, I'll give them that. But it doesn't give you the right to, we have that issue at work all the time, people dump stuff on the side of the road that you can't move it.
well, you know what I
And
want
they
to
do
do?
most of the time.
I should ask Barbara if she was there. I want to know if somebody tried to take, if the guy tried to take that hot tub to the dump. Because I don't think the dump takes such stuff.
Which you would think it would, but, you know, you think they accept just about everything.
I don't know. Nope, I don't think they would take it.
Yeah, probably not, it doesn't surprise me. I know they don't take a lot of stuff, like tires they don't take.